Hi everybody, I'm Alex. Welcome to my channel. So these days in my country there have been some talks about rape because an old man kidnapped and raped, then killed two teenage girls, and an Europol from 2016 re-emerged in the news, and it showed that 55% of the people that took the poll believe that rape is okay in some conditions, like if the girl is drunk or high, like intoxicated, if she's wearing some type of clothing that's revealing, if she goes to the guy's place. So in all of these conditions, 55% of the people said, yeah, rape is okay, it's normal. And it's mind-blowing, and okay, first of all, I think some people didn't really think of the question. I don't think they really meant as being okay and or normal. They meant probably something like something to be expected in a way. You know, I was talking to a colleague and I was telling her about this thing, and she said something like, yeah, well, if you go to a guy's place and you're wearing revealing clothes, I mean, what can you expect? And I'm like, worst case scenario, you're expected to be hit on, but it's not normal to be expected to be raped. What the? And when I told her that, she was like, oh, yeah, yeah, of course, you're right. And this is why I think like the percent is not actually 55%, it's lower. But still, there are the percentage of people who still believe a woman who is dressed scandalous, or who is drunk or even vulgar, who's sexual on the dance floor or whatever, she wants it. That's how they think, and I I can't understand this train of thought, like if you see a naked woman on the street, is your first thought to rape her? If rape is one of the things that come to your mind when the subject of a woman being dressed revealing or being sexy or whatever comes to your mind, you should get help. And I don't mean that in a condescending way or whatever, but it's not a normal reaction. And the worst part is people, well, not the worst part, but one of the worst parts is people blaming the victim. They're like, oh, well, what was she doing at that hour there? It's none of your beeswax what she was doing. She was definitely not looking to get raped. It's They are literally punishing the victim for minding their own business. How can you how can you do that? How can you think like that? Honestly, we're talking about a human being who has suffered a trauma, and you are blaming the person who went through the trauma instead of the actual rapist, the person who harmed somebody who is just minding their own business. A lot of people don't know this, but rapists, in most cases, not all, but when they rape somebody, they don't actually look for sexual satisfaction. They are looking to humiliate the victim. That's actually their turn on. That's what they are looking for. They're not looking for the sexy part. They are looking to humiliate the person. And today, because of this topic that's being discussed around the country, a person close to mine, I'm not gonna say who, revealed that a couple of years ago they were raped in the winter, and they told me how they didn't want to press charges or say anything because they felt afraid, they felt ashamed. They they say something like, you don't know how it feels then and after, we can't imagine. And I can't, I mean, I can have an idea of, yeah, I mean, it's horrible, but I cannot put myself in their shoes completely. And so admitting you've been raped is really hard. That's why a lot of people who have been through this don't do it, because it's a shame you feel inside. You are ashamed of yourself. You are thinking this happened because of you, and it's not true. And some people say, like, again, like, look how she was dressed, but no, like, Google, there was an exposition of clothing women wore at the time they were raped, and you can Google that, and you will see, like, they were wearing school uniforms, like non uniforms, regular business clothing, nothing revealing, nothing you'd consider like, oh, turn on, and they were still raped. They weren't provoking anybody. And also, what's the deal with this? I mean, women should be covering themselves because men cannot control themselves. That, because that's the idea, like, well, if she was doing that, no wonder. I mean, like, we are just basically saying, like, well, men are predators, and well, in some cases they are, but we are expected to be human, have logic and reason and everything. So when you say, like, well, she was raped because she did this, of course the man wanted more. No, that's not normal. I mean, yeah, you go clubbing, and somebody's a bit teasing you and whatever, but from being teased to forcing that person, it, it's a long way to go. Okay, it's a really long way to go. You can be sometimes a bit pushy and needy and whatever, and you'll make the other part uncomfortable. That's not okay either. But that's where it should stop. That's the maximum limit that you should reach when it comes to such things. How does rape come about? Yeah, so back to the story of the person who told me that. The thing is, I think I knew. I mean, I I knew something was off in that period. I I noticed a change, but I didn't really pay attention. I thought it was just like a mood swing, whatever. It's not something that comes like the first thing that comes to your mind. If somebody a bit different, you know, because there are people who, yeah, after they've been raped, they can be full of tears and not stop crying, whatever. Some can be like almost in a catatonic state, and some suffer like a shock and they can seem almost normal, because, well, we are all different people and we react differently to the same situation. So, so if the person is acting somehow somewhat normal, you you can't really guess something has happened, but now it has been confirmed. And well, I wanted to do this video anyway, but now even more so, because this shouldn't happen when people who are rapists and then they are released from jail. That shouldn't happen when we have the suspicion, the founded suspicion, that somebody could be a rapist. the police has to take charge, has to put them on surveillance. They have to do something. We cannot just tell women, oh well, don't go out by yourself after this hour, and don't dress like that, and don't dress like this, because there's one man out there who might get you. Because it's actually easier to follow just one person instead of trying to keep all of the women safe, at the cost of their own liberty and freedom to go and do whatever they want. Of course, I mean, if you are out at 3 a.m. by yourself, you can get raped, mugged, scared, hunted by dogs. I don't know. A lot of things can happen, but this doesn't mean it's normal or that it should happen. And I noticed a lot of people, when they are talking about this subject, they are talking like the victim deserved this. They're saying stuff like, well, what was she doing at that hour there? Like kind of like, well, she was looking for it, she was asking for it. No, she was not. Trust me, I don't think, unless you have like an extreme fetish for this kind of thing, nobody else is going out looking to get raped, ever, ever. And women don't really report their rapes because, first of all, there are all the psychological factors. Like I said, you are ashamed of yourself, you are disgusted, you have PTSD basically. You don't know how to feel. You can be afraid of men, of any man in general. You can trigger anxiety, panic attacks, a lot of things. So a lot of women don't press charges. They're afraid of the repercussions, because often rapes are being conducted by people you know, by family members, by close friends, by neighbors, and it's and of course you don't expect any of these people to actually try and rape you. Like, the a situation may occur where you think like, oh, okay, he's acting a bit weird, but then things escalate, and there's a shock there in that moment where you refuse to admit that it's happening. I mean, you keep saying no and you struggle, and then it happens, and it's like a part of you shuts down. Well, it's really tough, obviously. But yeah, so women don't go and report this to the police because of all those factors, and also because the police tends to basically laugh them off. They're quite often in many countries not taken seriously, you know, as if all women just decide to lie and say, oh, I've been raped, you know. No, I mean, we go to the police, you say what happened, and the police is obligated to treat this as a serious crime, as they should, but they don't, and they, have to start looking for clues and find out what really happened. But the fact that they're acting condescending when such a complaint is being filed is disgusting. And it's not just men who are police officers, it's women as well who act the same. They have a person in front of them who says, I've been raped, somebody has forced me to have intercourse, and they are, oh, okay, honey, tell us what happened. And how does that come about? And yeah, I know there are some women who lie, some men who lie. There is the possibility that somebody is lying, of course, like with any crimes, basically. Like, sometimes people lie, but that's another subject. I know, but in this case, it seems like this is the thing in which the police seems to think people are lying the most, despite not having any sort of evidence that most of the complaints would be false, you know. So yeah, I mean, if you go and say, oh, you've been mugged, so this happened, the police will treat it like, yeah, okay, but with the prospect that it could have happened. Whereas you go and report a rape, and the police thinks most likely it didn't happen, as if it's something so outstanding that it doesn't happen every day, but it does happen every day. Like, you watch the news and there is at least one rape, at least one, even more than one is the number of the least amount of rapes you can hear about in a day. That's not normal. Why do people act like it's normal? And it's like, oh, just another day, another rape. No. Another subject that it is really not discussed that much in the media is when men get raped. And men don't report their rapes, also because of the psychological factors, to which we add the male ego, so to say. A man is supposed to be strong, independent, tough, everything that's great in life. So if they say they are raped, they are met with even more laughter and condescending attitudes. I mean, if I see on social media a post about a woman getting raped, like most reactions are like, well, the thumbs up, because I'm sure people don't actually like thumbs up, she's been raped, just like they follow the article, whatever. They have the angry face and the shocked face. But when it comes to a male being raped, one of the top three reactions is the laughing emoji, which is unbelievable. Again, I mean, this is still somebody who was forced to do something they don't want to do. Why is it funny? And for that, the numbers of rapes for every year are not known because a lot of people don't go and report them, and especially in the cases where the man has been the victim. And looking at the reaction that they get when they admit to such thing, it's not hard to see why they don't admit. You know, you get laughed at, and again, I don't know how, and people are like, are you sure this happened? But well, but like, did you enjoy it? I mean, like, did you not want to do it, like, while it happened, or maybe after you decided you didn't like it? And those are, especially like coming from people who aren't trained to deal with rape victims, they are really, really, really condescending, because they're basically saying, well, are you sure you don't like it? And maybe change your mind after, or something, or maybe just imagined it. No, no, no. People don't just go around imagining such things. Okay, the number of people who lie about being raped is really small, and they should face huge prosecution also, because they add to the stigma of people being raped and not being able to complain, to file a police report, because they're not being taken seriously. So they are completely bad people, to say the least. But just because a small amount of people lie about this very serious thing, this doesn't mean we have to treat everybody else like they are also lying. Okay? Okay, so those are my thoughts. I'm curious to know what do you think about such a difficult topic to discuss about? Why do you think victims are not believed and they are sometimes portrayed as the villain because they were asking for it by the way they were talking or they were dressed or they went to his apartment, so what can you expect from that? You know what, why do you think people are vicious when it comes to this? You know, if you, God forbid, get robbed, people are like, "Oh, you poor thing," you know. But you go around saying you'll be raped, and people are like, "Oh, well, what did you do?" You know. So, if you like this video, for the lack of a better word, don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts on this subject. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.